Depuis près de 20 ans, Under the Pole mène des expéditions d'exploration sous-marine. Notre spécialité est d'étudier des écosystèmes sous-marins de la zone mésophotique, située entre 30 et 200 mètres de profondeur. Peu accessibles, ils sont encore largement sous-représentés dans la recherche scientifique, comme dans les décisions de conservation.
Notre programme scientifique de 10 ans, Deep Life, porté avec le CNRS, est reconnu comme projet officiel de la décennie des Nations Unies pour l'océan, vise à étudier les forêts animales marines, des habitats complexes à la biodiversité riche qui jouent un rôle clé dans le fonctionnement des écosystèmes côtiers. Ils pourraient même constituer des refuges face aux impacts du changement climatique.
Après des expéditions en Arctique, en Méditerranée, dans les Caraïbes et en Atlantique Est, Deep Life nous a conduits en Antarctique. Nous y menons actuellement une expédition de 3 mois à bord du Y, notre voilier d'expédition. Et en Antarctique, nos capacités d'exploration prennent tout leur sens.
Les écosystèmes mésophotiques y sont parmi les moins étudiés de la planète, alors même qu'ils jouent un rôle fondamental dans le fonctionnement de l'océan austral. Avec le co-directeur scientifique de Deep Life, Lorenzo Bramanti, qui est aussi chargé de recherche au CNRS, nous étudions et documentons les fonds jusqu'à 100 mètres de profondeur.
Nous y réalisons des observations directes et des inventaires biologiques en déployant des protocoles scientifiques innovants. Ces plongées révèlent de magnifiques forêts animales marines, composées d'éponges, de gorgones, de bryozoaires ou de coraux d'eau froide.
En les documentant, nous œuvrons à leur reconnaissance comme écosystèmes marins vulnérables. Ce statut renforce également le projet d'aire marine protégée Domain 1 en péninsule antarctique. Protéger l'océan austral ne peut plus se limiter aux zones de surface ou aux espèces emblématiques, mais doit inclure tous les écosystèmes, y compris ceux en profondeur.
Face à l'augmentation des pressions climatiques et humaines, en particulier la pêche industrielle du krill, l'absence de données ne peut plus servir de justification à l'inaction. Rendre visibles ces écosystèmes, c'est contribuer à une protection ambitieuse fondée sur la science et à la hauteur des responsabilités collectives.
C'est aussi pour ça que la transmission est au cœur de cette expédition. En partenariat avec le navigateur Boris Herman et son navire le Malaysia Explorer, plus d'une dizaine de scientifiques, de journalistes et d'activistes ont embarqué à nos côtés pour porter les enjeux de conservation au-delà du cercle scientifique, jusqu'aux sphères politiques et décisionnelles.
Bonjour à tous et à toutes, je m'appelle Anne-Sophie Roux, je suis activiste pour l'océan. Je fais aussi partie du programme Regeneration, qui est un programme développé par la Fondation du Prince Albert II de Monaco pour accompagner des jeunes qui portent des projets pour l'océan. Et je suis actuellement à bord du Malaysia Explorer et on s'apprête à rejoindre dans quelques jours l'équipage de Under the Pole à bord du Y. L'idée de la campagne qu'on va commencer à créer avec tout un tas d'activistes incroyables sur tous les continents, c'est de vraiment traduire les découvertes scientifiques faites à bord par les scientifiques en décisions politiques. L'objectif final de notre expédition, c'est vraiment d'aboutir à la création de cette aire marine protégée qui s'appelle Domain 1. Et évidemment, ce n'est que le début de tout un tas d'actions qu'on va mettre en place dans les prochains mois.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the second day of the third edition of the Polar Symposium, co-organized by the Prince Albert II of Monaco Foundation, YAS Kinskar, in collaboration with our hosts here at the beautiful Oceanographic Institute. So the video that you've just seen is a glimpse of the work that's being led by Under the Pole in Antarctica. The team is currently leading a 3-month expedition in the western Antarctic Peninsula aboard the schooner Y. They're documenting little-studied mesophotic and benthic ecosystems. And this work that they're doing is actively contributing to conservation efforts, including the Domain 1 Marine Protected Area. And it's also acting to strengthen the link between science and public engagement. And so we're not in Antarctica, we're not in the Arctic, but we're here in Monaco today. And now it's time to move into the heart of the symposium. We had really interesting discussions yesterday. And today we're going to focus on our workshop sessions. So we'll begin this morning with our first workshop, which concerns international collaboration in times of uncertainty, which will build directly on the first panel yesterday that was moderated by Pam Pearson. And then this afternoon, we'll move into our second workshop, which will focus on funding, innovation, equity, and new models. That follows the second panel from yesterday that was moderated by Dr. Maria Grigoratu. The goal for today is really to take the discussions that were started yesterday, move them into something more concrete, from reflection into action. So translate those exchanges into outcomes that are structured and forward-looking. And before I introduce the chair of this first workshop to the stage, let's get into just a few logistical points about how the workshops will work. So as you can see, there are 15 tables in the room, and as was mentioned yesterday by Ginny, for those of you that were here and maybe not too jet-lagged, each of these tables is assigned to one of the 3 regions, Antarctic, Arctic, and Polar. So it's up to you to decide where obviously you know where your expertise lies or which region you want to work on. If you aren't yet seated, please join a table corresponding to that region. And just a suggestion to avoid grouping with your friends and your colleagues so that we can really have an exchange of new ideas and voices. So a few ground rules. You can see this is the slide that we had on the screen yesterday as well. The first, as I just mentioned, is that mix of perspectives. So this workshop format really functions best with novel exchanges. The second is, I think, logical, but it's to engage constructively. So what we really want is open dialogue that includes constructive disagreement and is really ambitious, of course, in its thinking. And the third is to work with the structure that's provided. So as you can see on the slide, each table will have a prompt card that will guide the discussion. They'll also have a reporting template to complete. And don't worry, because those things will be taken care of by the table facilitators. So each table has a facilitator who is there to guide the discussion, to maintain the focus, and really help translate your exchanges into those structured outputs. The goal, again, of this structure is really to foster that open exchange and to identify concrete ways forward toward action, the keyword of this symposium. As to the timing, this first workshop will start with an hour and 20 minutes of discussion and will be followed by a 20-minute coffee break. After the break, we will reconvene for another hour and 20 minutes to consolidate and structure that initial open discussion. We are 15 tables working in the same room, so just to keep that in mind, to try to not disturb the other tables. There are also plugs for your computers under each table as needed. If you have any questions, the first person to ask is your table facilitator, who will self-identify, I think, when we start working. And for broader guidance, the workshop chair and co-chairs are present in the room and available for questions. The last reminder is just to always be thinking forward in these discussions. So this is an exercise, again, where each workshop will build on one another. And so what you are producing today will directly shape the workshop this afternoon, which will shape the workshop tomorrow, and ultimately the output of this symposium. So let's lean in and challenge each other and get to work. So it is my pleasure to formally open our first session by introducing the chair and co-chairs of our first workshop. So Dr. Jennifer Spence is the director of the Arctic Initiative at the Belfer Center for Science and International Affairs at the Harvard Kennedy School. She will introduce the framing and key objectives of the workshop. And the co-chairs, whose expertise has also been instrumental, really, in designing these workshops and this symposium, include Mats Kvist Fredriksson, from the executive director of the Arctic Economic Council, Eric Larson, the head of Human Rights of the Human Rights Unit of the Sami Council, and Dr. Monika Skarzlat, the assistant professor and researcher at the Mary Skłodowska-Curie University in Poland. So, Jen, the floor is yours.
Thanks very much, Rachel. And I'm going to actually get Mads to stand up. I can't see Eric right now. He's somewhere. Oh, there. You want to just stand up? And Monika is here. So just for context, as much as I'm the one up here, the work to design this has really been organized by all of us and with Salome, who is way at the back there. Okay, so this is a work that, we're going to put you to work, and the chair, Mads has generously offered, he's also a table facilitator, but Monika and Eric and I can very much help with answering questions throughout the conversations as well. So as Rachel mentioned, start with your table facilitators. They have some guidance for you at the table, but if you're getting stuck, it's a work in progress. We're all working on this together, so please feel free to pull us into your conversations. So just to sort of deepen the conversation, as some of you know, I wasn't here for the talks yesterday. I was somewhere between here and Boston, which got tackled with snow. So I had hoped originally to share with you some of the ideas from that and sort of encourage you to build on those. But now I'm going to rely on you to know what those conversations were. And I will just say, ultimately, this is the first workshop. What we really want to do is have this be future-oriented. And so it's about pathways forward. We could all get stuck in the uncertainties and the difficulties, but the goal here is to acknowledge those uncertainties and those challenges, but really reflect on how we can sustain collaboration in the current context. So what are those pathways that you see? So really encouraging you to not get too stuck in that and to think concretely in a time frame. Again, our focus is very action-oriented, so we're ultimately going to come out of this by the end of Workshop 3 thinking about IPY and some very concrete recommendations for that. And so what we thought we would start with as Workshop 1, this is sort of the ground setting. What are some of the future scenarios into that time frame that we can envision, from worst case to best case to sort of most probable case, and that's going to be sort of your first exercise. And then based on that sort of, and again, your table facilitators have more specific examples of that, but based on that sort of teasing out and synthesizing what are some of the core challenges, opportunities, but then we're going to shift into sort of, and so what are some of the high level levers and actions at a very high level. So we'll get into more specifics tomorrow when we get into the conversations around specific initiatives. But today it's much more sort of what are some of the enabling actions that can be taken that can then be used and built on in the next session. So this is your blue sky kind of workshop. This is your sort of think big workshop, and then we're going to drill down as we get into these things more specifically. Again, your facilitators are there, and what we're ultimately going to do, not at all ambitious, is once you have all of these table discussions, the table facilitators and the co-chairs will be coming together over lunch, trying to pull together some of the common themes and issues, and then we're going to feed that back to you and ask you to then feed in your reactions to that and sort of try to prioritize a bit. So know that we'll be coming back to you after lunch to actually sort of try to share back what we've heard and ask you to respond and provide just a bit of a priority setting kind of idea. So again, a work in progress, and I know this is the first of the workshops, so please don't be afraid to ask questions, both of your table facilitators, but if they also need guidance, then we're here to help as well. So again, it'll get very sort of concrete. We want to look forward, and we really sort of invite you to make some choices as a group so that we can really support the conversations in the next 2 workshops. So before we get started, I want to sort of, and no question is a bad question. Does anybody have any sort of questions or concerns at this point that you would like us to answer that you don't think that you need help before we get started, or we'll just dive right in and we'll figure it out as we go along? Anybody? All right, so again, each of you should have a table facilitator at your table. Monica, Eric, and I will be sort of wandering around and helping where we can, but please feel free, do not hesitate to bring us into your conversations, and it'll be really fun to see what we can come out of this with. So thanks very much, everyone.